welcome once again to another episode of Too Haute to Handle. I'm Haute, and today we're going to make a classic. This is ribs, country ribs, braised country-style pork ribs. You're going to love it. Now, braising is simply a technique. It's 2 steps. You sear the meat first, either on the pan or on the grill, and then you bake it in liquid to finish it off. So let's get started. Now, contrary to popular belief, what you see in front of you is not a barbecue. No, this is a grill. Grills are designed to cook things with high heat very quickly, and barbecues are designed to cook things with low heat, low and slow, often made out of brick, and smoke does most of the cooking. This is a grill, and we're going to show you how to grill. Now, this is this matchlight charcoal, very convenient. You can get it at any grocery store or whatever. And I'm not exactly using a match. I'm going to use a kitchen torch to get it going really quickly. Why wait? I mean, if you're going to do it, do it.
Faster. Whoa.
Very good. Now, if you learn absolutely nothing from this video, please learn this. Matchlight charcoal is convenient, but it has fuel in it, lighter fuel. And you can smell it. You can smell it in the bag. You can smell it as it's lit. Here's where most people make a mistake. As soon as that flame dies down, they go and throw their meat on top of that grill. And that is bad news, because
It's wrong.
the smell of the fuel will get all over your food. You don't want that. You want to taste the food. You don't want to taste the gas. So let the gas burn off, please. I can't tell you how many outdoor cookouts I've been to at friends of mine's house where they have all the best intentions to make great tasting burgers for me, and they don't. You get burgers that taste like gas. I hate that. I can't stand that. And please never do that. And it's very simple to avoid. All you have to do is let it burn. Let it burn away. I'll give this a good 25 to 30 minutes. The coals will be all nice and died down. You won't see any flames. And more importantly, you will not smell gas. The smell of gas has to be completely gone before you ever put a morsel of food on top of that. Okay? So please follow that direction. Burn off the gas before you do anything else. All right, this is my helper, Miss Georgia. She always is my best sous chef in the world. Now here, these are country-style ribs. And as I said, they're not, in fact, actually ribs at all. They are pork loin, and they've got bone-in. This is the bone-in pork loin, and you can see this is not actually a rib. That's actually part of the shoulder bone that's been kind of sawed through as they were cutting it up. But they're big, they've got lots of meat on it, relatively lower amounts of fat. So these are the bone in, and these smaller ones are bone out. And like I said, essentially they're about the same as pork chops. Now, to start it off, what we're going to do is we're going to get these ready for the grill. We're going to just pour some oil on here. This is extra virgin olive oil. You could use any kind of oil that you want, but I chose the olive oil because it's actually flavorful. Vegetable oils, anything else you could use, are certainly welcome to, but they don't impart much of a flavor. So I'm going to take my left hand and keep my right hand dry, and Georgia's going to take her left hand, and we're going to rub this oil all over the surface. It does feel weird. And rub the oil all over the surface. And part of the reason we're doing it is because it's going to help us get a nice char on the grill, but it's also going to help our salt and garlic and any other herbs or spices you want to put on there stick to the grill. Now, with my right hand that has not got oil on it, I'm just going to turn these all over.
That's kind of hard for me.
That's all right. Work on these over here then, maybe. Blah.
Got one.
And that one's kind of connected. It's coming through. I'll give you a little help.
Thank you.
There you go. And we go back and do the same Use your left hand again, which is still has enough oil on there to spread around. You can reach under if you need some more. Get both sides. There, we're good. Now, as I said, the reason to do it only with one hand is so you keep your other hand dry. Now, this is kosher salt, and we like to use kosher salt because the grains are really big and it sticks to the meat well. So I'm just going to grab a pinch. Georgia can grab a pinch too. And sprinkle it all over.
This one got none, so I'm going to give it some.
Okay. You can give it as much as you like.
Some of me.
I know. And take just a little bit of garlic powder, not garlic salt, garlic powder, and give them just a little sprinkling. And then put them back over the way we had them in the first place.
I'm able to flip this one, but not any other one. Why is that?
I don't know, practice makes perfect.
I got two of them.
Way to go.
I can't get this through.
Okay. Is that the right way? Or does it need to go that way?
It needs to go that way.
Can you get that one?
I'll see. Nope.
I'll grab it on the end like that and then just twist. There we go.
Thank you.
So now you use your dry right hand again. Salt on this side. Those nice big grains. There you go. Lovely. Now take a little bit of garlic powder. Lovely. You can put whatever else you like. If you have particular favorite seasonings that you like, feel free to put them right on there. I'm just going straight with the salt and garlic. You can put a little pepper, paprika, whatever floats your boat. But right now, I'm saying that this is going to be good. Simple is best for us. So it's been about 20 minutes since we lit the fire, and it should be all died down and all those gases off. So we're just about ready to throw these on the grill. No, we're not going to cook them completely. As I said, we're just going to get some nice sear marks and beautiful smoky flavor. And then we'll put them in the oven, and we're actually going to cook them in white wine to make the most delicious sauce you ever imagined. You ready, Georgia? Mm-hmm. Here we go. All right, so we are back now. Those charcoals are burned down. All the gas and fuel smell is gone, so you guarantee it won't be on your food. The only thing you're going to do with your food is get a nice smoky flavor. Now, so we'll go ahead and put our ribs on the grill, like so.
I can hear the sizzle.
Me too, these two are connected.
Oh no.
That's alright, we'll cut them later.
That's weird.
It is a little bit weird.
Sizzle. Okay.
You put these right over
I
the
see
coals.
some fire.
You see a little bit of a flame up. That's because some of the oil drips off there and catches on fire on top of the coals. It's all good. Now, as we mentioned before, we're not going to cook these out here until they're done. All we're trying to do is get some grill marks on them, sear it off a little bit so that we keep the juices inside, and let it stay on the coals to get some of that smoky flavor. And to that end, to really, really capture the smoky flavor, you're going to put on the lid, cover it up, and close it about halfway down. That'll put out the fire also so that the meat doesn't burn or get scorched. So we'll do that for about 2 minutes on that side and check back with you in a moment. All right, a couple of minutes go by, and if you look really closely, you can see this nice smoke drifting out of there, and that's exactly what you want. You want that meat imbued with that whole smoke. Now it's time to give it a bit of a turn. Yeah. And again, like I said, we're not trying to get it cooked here. Just seared a little bit. Nice. See those grill marks on there? It's absolutely perfectly what we want. That's about it. Just to seal in some of those juices.
Looks like turkey.
Looks like turkey, did you say?
Yeah.
Funniest looking turkey I ever saw, but okay.
raw turkey.
Oh. Some of these on the outer edges we might push closer to the center when those are ready to come off, just to make sure they get the nice grill marks as well. Don't stand in the smoke. It'll give you a little agita.
I'm doing this.
Beautiful. So those are lovely. And again, we'll just cover them up so they can get some more of that lovely smoke. All right, so these have been flipped once or twice, and they get a nice sear on them and that beautiful smoke. They're not anywhere near done, but it's definitely time to take them off before we can go to phase 2 of the cooking, which is the braising and white wine. And now we get to the portion of braising, and this is where all the magic happens. I've got the oven preheated to a very low, slow temperature of 325, and I've got the Dutch oven here that I'm just gonna put on low as well, because you do want to kind of heat the Dutch oven before it goes in, so you can better control cooking time. Now, all we're going to do is just transfer these country ribs right into our Dutch oven, and this part is going to make them just tender, fall off the bone tender. You should be able to cut it with a fork and have it just basically fall to pieces so it's melt in your mouth tender. Now, that's just basically straight off the grill, and the only cooking liquid we're going to have is some white wine. You can use any kind that you like, whatever is your favorite. This just happens to be a brand that's produced in Argentina, and I like it because it's not really dry, but it's not very sweet either, like a Riesling. It's kind of in the middle. It's just semi-sweet, and it's perfect for our application. So we'll just pour it right in, and we don't need to completely cover the meat at all. We just want to get it up about 3/4 of the way. And a whole bottle here is not quite enough to bring it up there, so it's pretty close. We could probably get away with that. But just to be sure, I've got another bottle of dry vermouth, which is very close in flavor profile. Doesn't matter if you mix those two. Just bring it up so it's almost to the top. And there we go. And that is all there is to that. So we'll cover it. I'm going to let it sit on the stove top. I know it fits. There we go. I'll let it sit on the stove top for just a minute till it comes to barely to a simmer, and then we'll put it in that 325 degree oven for about an hour and a half to start with, and see where we go from there. All right, now we've had those ribs in the oven at 325 for about an hour and a half, slightly longer. Now we're going to check them and see if they're done. Now, hour and a half is the starting point that you want to check. It may need to go a little longer, but we'll see. And I'll show you how we know if they're ready. Let's get these out of here. Wow, the smell is great. Can't wait to see what that's like. Alright, so be careful. We'll open this, stand back in case it steams a lot. Wow, it looks just awesome. And really, they're certainly done enough to eat, so you have no worries about any kind of foodborne illnesses. But what we're really checking for at this point is tenderness. And wow, you can just kind of pull it apart with a fork like that. You're right there. Pardon me while I give it a little nibble. It's delightful. It tastes delicious. But I am going to put it back in the oven for a little while longer, just to get it even more tender. So we started off at an hour and a half, just to check. Some ovens vary. But I think 2 hours is going to be our magical number, so we're going to come back in a half an hour, and they should be perfect. All right, we are back, and I've actually left that in the oven for another 45 minutes instead of the half hour I talked about. And I think that just makes all the difference, because look, this just falls apart with the fork. That is perfect. You couldn't ask for it better. Now, all we need to do is, first of all, take that meat out and transfer it to our tray, because we're going to use this wine. What was wine has now caught all those drippings and a little bit of flavorings and has become the start of an amazing, amazing sauce. So to begin the sauce, we're just going to take this out, and I actually have to do it kind of carefully because, as you can see, it's falling right apart. So we do our best to preserve its shape as much as we can. And I'll put this on a tray and then show you how that sauce comes together. Okay, so our meat is on the side. It's resting for a while as we build our sauce. And we'll start with a nice saucier. It's a lovely pan. It's flat on the bottom, but it has rounded edges on the corner. It's not straight down and across. And this is beautiful for making sauces because it allows the curvature of the whip that you'll use to go all the way around, so you don't get any kind of bits of flour or the roux that we're going to make stuck in any corner. It just performs perfectly. So to start off, what we're going to do is get some heat, and the first thing we need to do is make a roux, and that's going to be a combination of some fat and some flour, and the fat in this case is going to be butter. And we are going to use, I'd say about 3.5 tablespoons of butter, just a little knob like that. Pop that in, and then flour. And I've got about 3 heaping tablespoons of flour. We don't put it in right yet. We got to wait for this butter to come up to temperature. And we'll know when it's ready. As it melts, it'll start to bubble and foam, and then when that foam subsides, that means we're at the right place. Okay, the butter is heated up. You can see it's starting to bubble pretty well. And in fact, this is not actually the bubble that's, I'm sorry, it's not actually the butter that's bubbling, it's the water content of the butter that's boiling. So this will soon subside as the water that's in the butter evaporates, leaving just the oils and milk solids behind. So I'm going to give it just a little bit more to make sure that it's hot, because we want it actually hot and up to temperature before we add our flour in there. It helps it to helps the flour to absorb it much more. So there you go. That foaming is just about subsiding. You can hear it. It's not sizzling quite as much, and that's pretty good. And here I've got about 3, I wouldn't say tablespoons exactly, 3 heaping tablespoons of flour. And just put that right in there. And the first part of this is what we call a roux. It's basically flour and fat content that is put together here. And this, as we're looking at it, needs just a little more fat. I'm not going to put any more oil in there. I'm sorry, I'm not going to put any more butter in there, but I will put some more oil. Because at this point, you don't want it to be solid. You're actually looking for a slightly liquidy, there we go. Just that little extra touch of oil was all it needed, so that we can dissolve this mass of flour and get it to a, well, less than a paste. You don't want it thick. You actually want to keep it in liquid form, and this is great. And also, we want to make sure that we cook this flour for a good 2 or 3 minutes before we add our cooking juices to here. And the reason we cook it is because if you don't, you'll have a very raw flour taste in your final sauce, which is no good for anyone. Yeah, that's the right consistency. Now, if I had added enough butter in the first place, I wouldn't have had to add that oil. But, you know, it's not an exact science at this point. It's more of an art. And when you see it not exactly looking the way you thought it would, you do whatever you need to do to make it right. In this case, just a little more fat than that. Now, that is quite good. I'm going to let that sit by itself. Now, this sauce we're making, in French culinary terms, is what you call a velouté. Essentially, it's a gravy that starts off with a roux. We do this roux to thicken up the sauce. But a velouté is any sauce that started with a roux like this and then has the drippings from a cooked meat added to it. And in this case, we're all good to go. So this is that white wine and all the drippings that came off. We're going to put it all right in all at once. Let's go there and make sure our heat is on high and start whipping it up immediately. And as we do, as the rest of the cooking liquids come back up to temperature, it'll thicken up rather quickly. One thing you do want to do is to keep it moving so that nothing sticks to the bottom. And again, the rounded sides of this lets you get all the way around with no particles getting stuck or missed. While that's going on, I'm going to add some black pepper. And add some flavor. And a bit more kosher salt. And then again, keep it moving. Again, so you can see very quickly it's starting to thicken up. Now, one thing, the first seasoning I want to add is just a little sprinkle of ground sage, not terribly much, and a dash of ground coriander. Not too much. You don't want to overpower anything because this sauce is pretty much great the way it is. And we're just about there, I believe, in terms of the thickness, so we can reduce the heat. In fact, we can just turn it off and let the heat of the pan finish the rest of it. And you can tell it's done when the sauce coats the back of the spoon. And what that means is, if you pull up the spoon, see the back of that? Perfect. And while we're at it, a little taste test. Oh wow, that is divine. It's got the flavor of the pork itself through it, and it also, putting it on the grill in the beginning is the real stroke of genius, because it's got that ever slightly smoky flavor that penetrates through the whole sauce here, the sauce velouté, and that's done. Now all we have to do is put it on a plate to present it. Now this sauce is just delightful as it is, but for a final touch of luxury and to bring back in the French elements of it, they'll do what they call beurre la sauce, or basically butter the sauce. So a little tap of butter there to enrich it. And get that swirled and melted in there. It just gives that an extra little touch of unctuous delightfulness, and the final creme de la creme, the creme. A little splash of cream, and oh my goodness, that turns it into something fit for royalty. Now I know most of the time you don't think of eating ribs with cream sauce, but then again, these aren't actually ribs. It's country style ribs, which, as I've said, are more closely akin to a pork chop. And what's better than pork chops and gravy? Or ribs and sauce velouté. And that's it. I'm going to transfer that over to a serving suggestion, and man, it's something you really want to try. There it is on the plate. Some nice, incredibly tender, juicy, succulent pieces of pork, and this delightful sauce velouté that we made in just a matter of moments. Spoon some of that over there, and man, oh man, oh man, You serve that to your guest, and they will be begging for more. Country style ribs and sauce velouté. Try it. You'll love it.